Okay. You should be able to hear me now, Texas. You hear me now? Um, I've been having some issues with my, well, there went my camera again, pausing. Um, Hold on, guys, for anybody that's in here. I have got to check something. I'm going to turn it back on the background. I don't know why it keeps pausing. Hold on just 1 second. Okay. Hopefully this thing will not pause on me again. Sorry about that, Texas. Some major technical difficulties. I don't know if it's because I had my Logitech camera plugged into the this 4-port hub or multi-port hub that I've got, and maybe it wasn't getting enough power. I'm not really sure. I don't know what was going on. I I turned on my computer for the first time in about a week or two earlier, and everything was all screwed up. And I don't know if no more camera palsy. I hope not. I'm thinking maybe the camera wasn't getting enough power being plugged into that hub, so I had to plug it directly in the computer. But earlier, when it was already plugged into the computer, it was not recognizing it. And then my audio was all screwed up as well. But hopefully everything will work properly now. But you guys hear me and everything okay? Nothing screwed up as far as the audio now. I hope I can see the little slider going across there where earlier it was not. Hey, Ben Grimm. You say you spent lots of time at a video store growing up. First job was at a Blockbuster. You know, I have a lot of friends that started out, you know, their first job was a video store, and mainly it was, you know, I think it was their love of movies that that made them want to do that. But unfortunately, for those of us that love movies, working at either a movie theater or a video store or what have you, and of course, there's very few video stores out there now as well, but the pay is not, I guess, competitive. It's exactly what it is. It's like a first job. It's a starter job until you move on to something else. Um, okay, so it's A-okay. Thank you, Texas, for verifying. It seems like me and Steve have both had some issues with both our microphones and our cameras. Or Steve had trouble with his microphone, I know. He would probably just tell me I didn't need to have this new camera, that the other one worked just fine. But, you know, we did have a power outage the other night, and I haven't had my computer on since the power outage, definitely. So it could have messed with some stuff. I'm just hoping it didn't damage anything. But anyways, Jay, you say, yes, we have Army of Darkness available to rent. No, I'm sorry, ma'am. We can't hold new releases. Ma'am, there's no reason to say that about my mother. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, some people, you know, no matter what kind of job you have, that's good to bring up, because no matter what kind of job you have, if it's in customer service, you're going to deal with a lot of different personality types. And pretty much all of my jobs have been in customer service of some sort, whether it's dealing with the public or dealing with users within a company. So in either way, to me, it's customer service. And you have some people that are just as sweet as can be, and appreciative of everything that you can do for them. And then there are other people that no matter what you do, they're not going to be happy. So, well, that's a good idea, Texas. I didn't even think about that. That you said sometimes you need to turn your surge protector on and off after a power outage or surge. I'll keep that in mind. I'm hoping we don't, you know, have that here, you know, soon after us having the last one. And there was really, as far as I know, there was really no reason for the power to go off. We were not having a storm. There was no strong winds. The only thing I can gather is it could have been a transformer that blew. You know, sometimes those things just out of the blue, they just blow and make that loud shotgun like sound that everybody's like, holy crap, what is that? I did hear some like pops and stuff, which, you know, maybe we didn't hear that loud noise because maybe our house is not close to a transformer. I'm not really sure, but I will definitely keep that little tip in mind the next time we have a power outage. But yes, I am going to talk about video store memories. I talked a little bit about that on the tail end of Steve's show last night. And I just wanted to, you know, kind of ramble on about some, maybe a few more memories. This one may not be quite as long as some of my others. And then again, we may get to talking, and it may be about on par with some of the other streams that I've done. I must tell you, it feels good to be back in the driver's seat as far as doing these. And I'm hoping that I feel good enough, you know, and maybe I'm getting enough rest now with having this 3-day weekend and stuff, that maybe I'll be more energized and be able to feel like doing these more, because I really miss doing them. I enjoy doing them. But when you can't drag yourself up off the couch because you're so tired because of work, it's really, really rough. And I'm sure some of you in here tonight have been in the same position that I'm in. But Texas, you say probably Steve getting electric with his dancing. Well, you know, Steve hasn't been too electric tonight, or today in general. I think he was a little bit perturbed at me earlier because I got a wild hair yesterday evening, and decided that I was gonna, you know, take the plunge and get my bearded dragon a 75-gallon terrarium, which meant, you know, this was an aquarium, a 75-gallon aquarium, mainly for fish, but you can adapt these aquariums for for snakes or bearded dragons. I wouldn't recommend it for iguanas because you can only keep iguanas in aquariums for so long, or terrariums for so long, before you have to move them out to a very large enclosure. But depending on who, and you guys feel free to plug your ears or tune out if you're not interested in me talking about my pets. But there are some schools of thought that say that a 40-gallon aquarium or terrarium is big enough for an adult bearded dragon. And then there are other schools of thought that say you need a 75 to 100-gallon aquarium for your bearded dragon to be happy and have the full life that they are supposed to have. So, like I said, yesterday evening I got a wild hair and decided I was going to take this plunge and get. PetSmart had a deal, and they only had one of them left. Because usually when they have these deals where you get the aquarium and the stand together for a pretty decent price, and in this case it was a 75-gallon aquarium plus a stand for $349. And I don't know about you guys, but I could spend that, or I could wait and they would run out of them, and then the only ones that would be left are in the $500 to $1,000 range. But Steve doesn't seem to think in the same way that I do. He just thinks point blank the 40 gallons was plenty big enough for that bearded dragon, my bearded dragon Ernie. And he just saw no need for it. And with me not driving, when I get these wild hairs to get something like that, and they wouldn't ship it. And the only thing that I can gather from them not wanting to ship it is because they're afraid that it would get broken in shipment, and then somebody would complain, well, you broke my aquarium. It came to me in it shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. So that's the only thing I can gather from it. So I needed to go pick it up. Well, with me not driving and not having my own vehicle, I had to ask Steve. And I asked him last night if he was okay with it. And, at first he said, do you really need to do that, Dana? But then he told me he would take me. So I figured, that was good. We'd just go on. And well, he wasn't too happy when it actually came down to actually going and getting it maneuvered into the house and all of that. And he said he had things to do today, and that I was, taking away his weekend. So he's not too happy with me right now. So not that you guys need to know that, but hey, I figure we're all friends here, so we'll just get everything out in the open. But moving on from that, before I get started with the video store memories, I did want to bring up something that I just picked up, which is Girls Night Out, the Arrow release of this. I think I did talk briefly about this on the last Eurocult show that we did with Darren. Sorry about that, guys. And I'm not sure if that one's out just yet. Shame on me. I should ask Steve, when he finishes the editing of these things and all that. But if you haven't listened to that, if you guys are, some of you guys that are in here listen to the Eurocult show, as well as coming to me and Steve's live streams and all that, you may have already heard me talk about this. But Girls Night Out, a little background on Girls Night Out. This was a blind buy for me back when I got the DVD, not when I got the Blu-ray. And I just thought the plot synopsis sounded good for Girls' Night Out, and it was a slasher I hadn't seen, and so I got it and on DVD, and I remember, enjoying it. And so here we are in 2022. Fast forward to 2022, Arrow puts out this Blu-ray. Um, Darren, you just literally ordered that Girls Night Out Blu-ray. Awesome. You'll have to let me know, when you get it in and you watch it, if you are, pleased with the special features and all of that, um, as much as I was. Uh, but like I talked about on the Eurocult podcast, I the quality, and they have the little disclaimer at the beginning of the Blu-ray when you put it in. Arrow gives you the disclaimer that um, some of the film elements aren't all the same. They had to, of course, get film elements from different sources. So there are some lines in some of it, those hairs and the little kind of green, like film like lines and stuff like that. But overall, I think the film probably looks as good as it's ever going to look for us. I think Arrow did an outstanding job of piecing it together, even though they had to get it the film from different or different elements. And I, as always, I thought this was an enjoyable film. I actually met Laura Marie Taylor, who is also in Friday the 13th Part 2, but she plays one of the sorority girls in Girls' Night Out. And she actually got married to another actor that's in this, John Diedrich or John Diedrichson. Um, and she got married to him soon after this movie was made, I believe. They actually, I guess, met on this movie. And there's a really good interview on here with them. I guess that was done during the height of the pandemic because it's actually like a web interview. But I think that obviously an older couple now. I mean, it's not like they're ancient, but they're so cute together. It's almost like no time has passed between Girls' Night Out being made and now. Because he says that she was the best thing that, marrying Laura Marie Taylor was the best thing to come out of that movie and all of that, even though they both evidently enjoyed making the film. Texas, you say, I watched that last week on the Arrow channel. Hal Holbrook slumming. I liked it, but the ending, you could see it coming from a mile away. Now, I find that interesting, Texas, because maybe I'm dense, but when I got this DVD and I watched it, of course, for some reason during that time period that I got the DVD, I must have been really super tired then because I kept trying to watch it and kept going to sleep. Not because the film was boring, but just because I was so freaking tired for some reason. So maybe that's why the ending wasn't entirely obvious for me. The first time I watched it, maybe if I had been in another frame of mind or not as tired and didn't have to watch it numerous times and in pieces and stuff like that, maybe I might have been able to see that ending coming as well. But I honestly, at that time period, did not see it coming. But, sometimes you wait a few years and you watch a movie and you pick up on things. And since then, I have picked up on things. It's like, oh, yeah, this was, I don't want to give it away for people that haven't seen it. But, oh, there was a clue there and there was another clue there. And whether those things were dropped in there on purpose, I don't know, or it was just one of those movies where the ending, as you said, You could see it coming from a mile away. But I do find the film enjoyable. I think this package from Arrow is great. And I'll tell you a little bit about the special edition contents in this. I think this is the limited edition slipcover too, as well. But you do get a brand new 2K restoration from 35mm vault elements. Um, let's see. Brand new audio commentary with genre film critic and author Justin Kurzweil from Hysteria Continues, and film historian and author Amanda Rees or Rise. Staying Alive, a brand new video interview with actress Julia Montgomery, who was also in the Revenge of the Nerds movies. A Savage Mauling, a brand new video interview with actress Laura Summer. Alone in the Dark, a brand new video interview with actress Lois Robbins. It Was a Party, a brand new video interview with actor Paul Christie. Love and Death, a brand new video interview with actors Lauren Marie Taylor and John Didrikson, I think. Okay. There's also an archival video interview with actress Julia Montgomery that was included on the DVD. The Scaremaker alternate title card, original trailers, and there's a reversible sleeve featuring original and newly commissioned artwork by Justin Osborne. And this is the other artwork, like the original artwork for it, and this is Justin Osborne's version. And I really like this. I like the way that's set up. And this is probably the one and only film that the killer is actually in a mascot suit. In this case, a bear suit. I don't think I will ever see that again, except in this movie. Darren, you say, I've only ever seen it once, and that was over 10 years ago, so it's going to be like watching a new film for me. Excited to get this limited edition one. Yeah, I think it's well worth it. I mean, some people might not agree with me. I don't think Steve thought it was necessary to buy it, and of course he didn't buy it. I mean, if he wants to watch this Blu-ray, of course he can watch mine. So, anyway, just before we get into the video store memories, I just wanted to bring up that because that is one thing that I've gotten in. And of course, when the 4K of Tenebrae comes out, of course I'm going to be ordering that to get that one in. Oh, excuse me. I do have Horror High and Stanley double feature from Vinegar Syndrome ordered. It has not come in yet. And also Mountaintop Motel Massacre from Vinegar Syndrome on Blu-ray. Although that particular one, I did not get the limited edition slipcover. I just got the standard edition, which still also has cool artwork on it. Texas, you say, when I saw that cover, I thought it was some kind of mutant. Yeah, it kind of does. It kind of looks like it, doesn't it? So, anyway, let's get started with a few more of my video store memories. And, you know, if you guys, Texas and Darren, if y'all don't mind if I repeat some of them from last night, I will certainly do that for people that maybe were not in the live stream last night. Oh, goodness, really, guys. Hold on just a second. I'm going to refresh my drink. And no, it's non-alcoholic. It is like orange drink. I'm going to be right back. I'll put on my lovely Evil Dead background, and you guys can look at it for a minute or two. Okay. Oh, I'm trying to get this adjusted here a little bit. Okay. Um, I was a little concerned that maybe my blood sugar was getting a little low because last night, or actually really super early this morning, like 1 a.m. or something, I woke up feeling like somebody had just poured a bucket of water on me, which was due to my blood sugar being low. But anyway, Texas, you say anyone watched The Sadness yet? Yes, I did. Steve and I watched it a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago or so. And you may have already heard me say what I thought of it, but I didn't think it was a horrible movie. It was an interesting, Asian horror movie, I guess you would call it. The only thing I know how these movies are, like the Cat 3 movies and stuff like that, which this does have a little bit of a Cat 3 environment in it. But I don't know, guys. I'm just not the infected person aspect of it, where they basically go crazy and start killing people in very brutal ways when they get infected with whatever this virus is. That was interesting. But what was, as Texas says, extremely unsettling to me was the fact of them blatantly mixing sex and horror. Now, I don't mean just lightly mixing the two. I mean, it's very deliberate and very, in my opinion, in your face. Because Steve says this was only implied, so he doesn't really know why I'm making a big deal about it. But, implied or not, you knew what was supposed to be going on. So, it's basically one of those things where there's people infected with some kind of virus and people get trapped in a certain area together. And one of the main girls in the movie comes across another young woman who she tries to help. And this older guy gets infected. He's kind of sleazy to begin with. And evidently wants to have sex with young girls. And I think they're on a subway or something before he gets infected, and he's kind of hitting on the one girl. So then when he ends up getting infected and comes across these two young women again, the one young woman has lost her eye, one of her eyes. And basically this guy sticks his penis in her eye socket and screws her in her eye socket. There's another scene where people were obviously in the throes of this virus, and they're having sex with each other. It's like an orgy thing, only they're covered in blood. And yeah, Texas, I could see the Cronenberg influence. Reminded you of of Shivers. Yeah, it's just that I don't think I like Cronenberg movies a lot, and I know they have to do with body horror and sexuality, and they they tend to mix the two. But I didn't think Cronenberg ever went over that line like this movie did. because I've seen several Cat 3 movies with Steve, and they basically don't give a shit within these movies. I mean, they're not actually killing people, but they'll kill a kid within the movie. It doesn't matter. And I'm not talking about a teenage kid. I'm talking about little kids. Um, I'm like, I told Steve, I was like, did they really do that to the kid, even though it's just within this movie and so it's fake? And he's like, yeah, they do that all the time in these movies. So I'm not trying to be a hypocrite or anything. I think Cronenberg took it to the edge, but he didn't go over the edge. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like this movie went over the edge and over the cliff. Um, so there were a couple of those highly sexual um, uh, parts of the movie that I didn't care for, but overall the movie was interesting and kind of unique and all that. But that's just my take on it. Um, so, y'all feel free to like put whatever in the chat, and if you want to comment on something I'm talking about here or comment on something else. My hair is like super crazy tonight. I do apologize, guys. Um, yeah, it is definitely nuts and gory. I agree with that. Um, but I'm just going to go over some of these stories, these video store memories. And like I said, y'all can comment on what I'm talking about, or if you want to bring up a movie to ask everybody about, just like Texas did with the sadness, feel free. Um, but what I was going to say before I really got into these memories is the video store days. That was just a golden time for me. And I don't know necessarily if it was a golden time for everybody at that time. Probably not. But me being a movie nerd, and being a horror movie nerd at that, the advent of the video store opened up so many doors for me. And I've mentioned this before. This was at a time when videos were just not accessible to the common person. The person that worked a 9-to-5 job. They just literally could not obtain these films. And I've said this before, I used to moon over the different titles that magazines like Fangoria and Gorezone would have, and wish that I could get those titles, because a lot of them, just the title alone sounded so awesome. But generally they were anywhere from $70 to $100. So there was no way that preteen and early teen Dana could have gotten any of these films. Yeah, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, yes. In many, many ways it was. Um, but like I said, the advent of the video store boom really opened a lot of doors that if these stores had not been around, these doors would have stayed closed to the majority of us. And I talked about this last night too. My dad, my family was a late adopter as far as having a VCR. My cousin, her dad was really technologically savvy even in those early years, and he liked gadgets and stuff like that. So her family was able to get a computer, a home computer, way before I did. they were also able to get a VCR way before my family did. And they actually had one of the top loading VCRs. I never had a top loading VCR, I had a front loading VCR. And my dad actually ended up buying it from Service Merchandise, which I don't know how many of you in the chat, Darren probably not, but I don't know how many of you in the United States are familiar with Service Merchandise, the store Service Merchandise. But that is where Dad ended up buying our family's first VCR. And he wanted to surprise everybody for Christmas, so he told me and my brother that he was buying a gift for Mom, and he didn't want us to slip up and let her know what it was. But what it turned out to be, in all actuality, was the VCR was a gift for the family. And so Mom opened it on Christmas Day. But we were all surprised. It was like, oh, cool. Now we get to go to the video store and rent movies. Jay, you say you drooled over those Marshall video ads in Fango too. Yeah. I mean, literally, it broke my heart because I couldn't afford to get those great movies. Darren, you say great memories, but I'm glad nowadays we can watch anything we want in one click. I'm glad you brought that up, Darren, because for me, that very thing is both a blessing and a curse to me. Because it is great in many respects that we can watch anything with one click. But it also breaks down, in a lot of ways, it breaks down that connection to physical media. And I know a lot of different people in a lot of different places, from all different walks of life, give their opinions on physical media, and its importance or not, non-importance in our society now. I am a person, and I don't know if it has something to do with me working in a library environment for many, many years, or at my core, I'm a collector. But with books and movies, I like to have a physical copy that I can actually touch and see, and all of that. And I fear that going away. And on some levels, I think maybe that's an irrational fear that physical media will never go away, that the actual books that you can hold in your hand will never go away, that the actual physical media like this movie here will never go away. But then somewhere in the back of my mind, I think, yeah, there's that distinct possibility that this stuff will go away and everything will all be digital. Which, for some people, they don't act like it bothers them. They actually say that they're running out of room. I've heard CK mention that he's running out of room for actual physical movies. And I hear some other people, they are obviously not collectors, or don't have that collector mentality, that say, what, everything can be in the cloud, or as Darren said, I can just click and watch it. Or, I can go to these streaming services and click on it and watch it. Or I can download it. Or, whether that is legal or not, it is something people do. So there are many, many schools of thought on that. Some people want to go whole hog digital. Some people want to have a hybrid of like having some physical media, some digital media. Um, I guess I'm in the spot where I would rather it stay. You know, I love the streaming services. I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad about them. Shudder brought Joe Bob back to the masses. And if there wasn't some, you know, either Shudder wasn't around or a similar streaming service that was willing to bring on a host for movies, where that has pretty much fell by the wayside with television and cable. The streaming services basically picked up where cable television left off. So God bless Shudder for bringing Joe Bob back, and for you know, having some original programming that's really good. I'm not saying all of it's good, but some of it is. Um, so I that's why I'm glad that Darren brought that up, because when you guys bring up stuff like that, it gets my brain turning and the wheels turning in my brain, and I start thinking about other things in relation to, like the topic tonight of the video store memories. This all connects up. It's all like connective tissue. Um, Jay, you say, "Damn, I haven't thought about service merchandise in forever." Yeah, actually, you know, it's been a long time since, you know, I even thought about service merchandise, unless I am thinking about the time that Dad bought our first VCR and where we got it and all that. In Texas, you say physical media rules. In a lot of ways, for me, it does. Jay, you say so many thoughts on this topic. Darren, you say, I think a lot of the boutique Blu-ray labels will be around for a long time. It's the newer films that are not getting physical media releases like Netflix, etc. That newer Texas Chainsaw Massacre is being bootlegged a lot. You mean that awful one? uh, I probably will never see that movie again. But, you know, more power to people if they do like it. Probably old Curly Jaws likes it. Uh, but after we got our first VCR, and I'll tell you another thing, those original VCRs that were out, they lasted forever. I'm starting to feel like Squints on the Sandlot. Forever. But anyway, um, they lasted a long time before they played out on you. It seemed like we did literally have that first VCR, first family VCR forever. And so we were just so excited that as soon as we could after Christmas, we made a trip to the video store. And I remember the first video I rented, which was Kevin Tenney's Witchboard. And I remember my brother renting or picking the Transformers movie, the animated one back in the 80s. And he was so excited, mainly because he got to hear "damn" in a movie. He's like, I think he said Optimus Prime said "damn" or "damn it" or something in the movie, and he thought it was so cool that he got to experience that. Um, Jay, you say you can't trust streaming companies. You can't buy it all. Utilize streaming and pick your shots on buying your faves on disc. Um, you know, it's not really that I don't trust the streaming companies. It's more, I don't trust, no matter how many times somebody tells me that there's backups to this stuff. I just have this fear that, like, what if it just all goes up in smoke one day? And people are no longer either able or willing to get physical media, and the stuff is just zap. It's just gone. Now, I have people tell me, they've told me over and over and over again that that will never happen. That they're, that they've got this stuff all backed up somewhere. But I still have that fear, that gnawing fear in the back of my mind somewhere. But, sorry to be eating, guys, but unfortunately, when you're diabetic, you have to do this from time to time. Oh, wow. That is a cool memory, Darren. You said the first thing we recorded on our VCR was Salem's Lot in 2 parts. I played the hell out of that tape. And I bet you did, because here's the thing about Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot, there were 2 different versions of it. And I'm not sure about in the UK, Darren. Maybe you can speak to this. But over here in the United States, there was a theatrical version of Salem's Lot, and then there was Tobe Hooper's original miniseries, which was a lot longer, of course, in comparison with the theatrical release. And so the first time I ever saw Salem's Lot, I think I saw the theatrical release. So when I was finally able to watch that, the complete miniseries, I was just amazed. Amazed at the difference between the 2 films, and how much more the original miniseries seemed to follow Stephen King's story better. And of course, as I've told many of you, that I am a huge Stephen King fan. Okay, so y'all didn't have that theatrical release then. I'm not saying it was a bad release. I'm just saying if you want the full experience of Salem's Lot, I would highly recommend watching the miniseries version. X-Ray, you say, I watched the theatrical first and picked up the 2-tape collection years later. And that more than likely happened to a lot of people in the United States. That, sometimes you get these movies and you take them home or whatever, and you get to looking at them, and it'll say in small print, this is the theatrical release. And it's like, oh man, I thought I was getting the full release of this. Yeah, I agree with you, X-Ray. You said the theatrical version felt rushed in comparison to the miniseries. No character development. Yes. And the thing about Stephen King is he has such well-drawn and well-developed characters that it almost seems like such a waste not to have these characters in their full capacity, the way it was intended originally. It's just like when Stephen King first wrote The Stand. I think it was Doubleday. He was with Doubleday Publishing at that time, and I think their thinking was he was still a new author at that time, and they felt like that the full version of The Stand, that people wouldn't really get behind that it was too bulky and all this. And so they made Stephen King basically cut a bunch of it out. And so I am so glad that when I read The Stand, I got the uncut version of The Stand, which was, I believe, over 1,000 pages. But years after that, I actually took a look at the original version of The Stand that Doubleday forced Stephen King to put out. And I'm like, holy crap. they cut this book all to ribbons. So the same, I'm sure, goes for movies as well. X-Ray, you say, is it true it was a setup for Salem's Lot TV series that never happened? X-Ray, I'm not really sure. I don't know that I've ever heard either way. But anything's possible. Texas, she said the unrated Wizard of Oz with the Munchkin orgy. Oh wait, what? I sincerely hope that there's not a version like that. But some of my other video store memories that I have, like that the video stores were what first introduced me to things like Campbell Ferox. Although when I rented Campbell Ferox, it was under the title "Make Them Die Slowly," and I'm not really sure, but I want to say that possibly "Make Them Die Slowly" may have been slightly cut. I cannot recall 100% at this point. But I do remember I know it was me and my dad and my brother, who was evidently quite young at the time. And I remember seeing the big box video at the video store. And of course, it's banned in so many countries and all this. And I was like, wow, I have to get this. So, I gave it to Dad, and he took it up there, and he actually was the one that rented it. And so we took that home, and for the life of me, I don't recall my mom watching it, but perhaps she did, I'm sure she was there. It's, in the house somewhere. But as I've said before, my dad can be a really funny guy sometimes. And, when people talk about their parents, sometimes, if they talk about getting spankings or something when they were a kid, some people may get the impression that somebody's parent is a real hard ass, But my dad, he punished me and my brother very few times. He wasn't one of those strict disciplinarians or whatever. If you made my dad angry, he's mellowed quite a bit over the years, like with my nephews and stuff. But it would take a lot for Dad to get really super angry. And I'm sure a lot of you guys went through this with your dad, or maybe your mom too. Sometimes the mothers are quick to anger as well. But I didn't I didn't clash with my mom until I was in high school, mainly. And that's when we, butted heads quite a bit. And I was not one of those kids that went out all the time or was dating a lot or anything like that. It's just we seemed to butt heads over other things. But my dad, when I was growing up, Dad would, he would threaten a lot more than he would actually do. But you really didn't want Dad to get to the point where he was giving you that look like one more word and you're going to be sorry. When he told you to go to your room, shut up and go to your room, you better shut up and go to your room. So we were never beat on as kids, my brother and I. I've said this before, I'll say it again, and I'll always stand by it. I have two of the best parents anybody could ever ask for. But, when your kids are being little shits, sometimes you have to, you have to threaten sometimes. But anyway, back to my dad being a pretty funny guy. we watched Campbell Ferox under the title Make Them Die Slowly. And I don't think, I mean, my mom and dad had seen a lot of drive-in movies, but they hadn't seen everything. They had seen like The Gates of Hell at the drive-in and stuff like that. But I don't ever remember Dad saying they watched any cannibal movies at the drive-in. But this, this is clearly drive-in, grindhouse type of exploitation type of material. And so I would suspect that my parents had never seen anything quite like Cannibal Ferox before. But I just remember my dad, after we watched it, and then we decided we were going to go to town for something. I mean, who knows, Dad maybe was going to grill out or something like that. But anyway, we went into town, and as we were leaving the house, Dad, I guess because he was laughing because he couldn't really understand what these natives or these cannibals were saying. And he said, they went blah, 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 quah. And so he did that quah thing and then jumped off the step. And, those are the kind of things that you remember in connection with other fun things. And, I don't really know why that sticks out in my mind, other than that was just a fun time had by everybody because everybody laughed. Everybody in the family laughed. My mom laughed, and me and my brother laughed, and all that. So I just remember, even though that was a pretty hardcore movie at the time, I remember it warmly because my family had a lot of fun with the movie. Actually, so the one movie I was never allowed to rent as a kid was Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Whenever I tried to, my mom told me to put it back because it looked stupid. And now, I don't think my mom or my dad ever said anything looked stupid when I was a kid. And I'm not like putting anybody down for saying something looks stupid. I mean, when we got older, they said, this is stupid. My dad, the first time I had him and Mom watch Basket Case, I think Mom kind of liked it. Dad said, Dana, that is the stupidest movie I've ever seen in my life. And of course, we all laughed about that. But that was when I was much older, when he said that. But in the video rental days, I don't ever recall him. I think we just had wide-eyed wonderment at almost anything at that point in time. And now it seems a lot of people have gotten jaded, including myself, where I don't have that wide-eyed wonderment, that wide-eyed innocence that I did back in those video store days of you going in there and there was just rows and rows and shelves of all these potentially new and exciting movies. Excuse me. But now it just, there was bad stuff out then. I mean, we can't really call stuff like Cannibal Ferox good. But now it seems like everybody and their mother is making a film, and anybody with just a little bit of money and a camera can go make any piece of crap that they want to make and throw it out there on the market somewhere, including these streaming services. So I just think that those carefree days of us going and watching quality crap are over and have been replaced by things like elevated horror, which we've talked about in here numerous times, just your garden variety shit that nobody basically, I mean, I'm not going to tell you don't have a right to watch it. You have a right to watch anything, but there's just some stuff out there that is so bad anymore that we shouldn't even allow it to burn on our retinas, and scar us for the rest of our lives. Um, Darren, you say you never got to see Ferox until the DVD releases. Wow. Yeah, quality crap, Jay. There's quality crap, and then there's just plain old crap. You know what I'm saying? Or another way to put it, there's entertaining crap, and then there's just crap. You know, the kind of crap that you scrape off the bottom of your shoe. Um, but anyway, some of my other video store memories are like this was many years after like that big video store boom. And there were places like Video Vault. I don't know if many of you in this chat had a Video Vault, but at that point in time, they would say that you could get 7 movies for $7 for 7 nights. And that setup introduced me to things like The Burning. It introduced me to things like Absurd. Only this was under the title, I believe, of Monster Hunter. And, sadly, I didn't get into Argento stuff much later. You would think I would have gotten into Argento during the video store boom, but I really didn't. The first time I got into Argento stuff was when, basically when IFC, back when it was actually the Independent Film Channel, would show things, especially around Halloween time. They showed several different movies, and like I believe that it's possible I could have rented Suspiria, but I was thinking that they showed that on IFC. I know they showed Tenebrae, and that was where I saw Tenebrae for the first time. And so Fulci, though, my parents saw The Gates of Hell, aka City of the Living Dead, at a drive-in under the title The Gates of Hell. And I've told this story before too, but it's one of those fond memories. I remember my dad talking about this movie. He would talk more about the movies than my mom did. And my mom was really into horror at one time, including the slasher movies like Friday the 13th and stuff. And but Dad was the one that like kept talking about this movie called The Gates of Hell, where this guy gets his head drilled and there's a rain of maggots. And I don't remember my dad talking about the girl vomiting up her entire intestinal tract, but he did talk about several things, and I was like, this got to be the greatest movie ever made. So I did not know who Lucio Fulci was at that time, but I quickly found out when I ran across The Gates of Hell, another big box, at a small, like mom and pop video store over in Indiana, just over the river from Hancock County, where I grew up. And it took about 15 minutes to get to Tell City. And we used to call it going over the river, because you literally would go over the bridge into Indiana, go through Cannleton, and then hit Tell City. And Tell City was also where I was introduced to Video Vault. But this other little video store, it was a really small video store, but man, did they have one hell of a selection. And I ran across both The Gates of Hell there, a big box, and I Spit on Your Grave. And that was where I was able to watch both of those movies And you know, of course, I was much older then. I've talked about this before. I Spit on Your Grave was basically the only movie that my parents told me that I should wait to watch, because when Mom and Dad first rented it and watched it, I was quite young. And you know, I understand why they told me to wait now. But when I was younger, I was like, I was only hearing the audio from this movie, and I thought I was missing the greatest horror movie ever made. Granted, it's not really a horror movie; it's more exploitation, but does have some very horrific scenes in it, especially during, you know, rape is horrific, and the revenge in a lot of ways was horrific, even though within the confines of this film it was justified. Um, Jay, you said quality crap is an eloquent phrase that fits perfectly. Darren, you say Demons was the first time I heard of Argento back in the summer of '87. Um, you say you remember that summer renting stuff daily, sometimes 2 or 3 films at a time. Well, when my family first got the VCR, my dad, there for a while, um, I think it was just about every night or maybe every other night, he would come home with a stack about yay big of videos that he had rented at this place called the Quick Pick. And I don't know how many of you people are familiar with a Quick Pick, but it was basically a place, you know, sort of like a 7-Eleven or a gas station or something, where you could get chicken, you could get a chicken box with chicken and tater wedges or potato wedges. I'm letting my southern accent come out. I'm gonna get you some of them tater wedges. um, but you could get potato wedges and chicken, and you know, they had a fine selection of candy and potato chips and cokes and all kinds of stuff. So um, the the Quick Pick also at one time had videos, and so I remember I didn't watch the original Sleepaway Camp first. It was many years after I'd watched the second and third one, that my aunt kept talking about the original Sleepaway Camp, and she was able to rent it. But by the time I was wanting to watch it, I was not able to find the video anywhere. Now, there, like a year or so before my aunt really started talking about Sleepaway Camp, I remember that I was in the store. I think it was called TGNY. And I don't know how many of you out there had a TGNY or a 3D. And I don't mean 3D movies. I mean, there was actually a store called 3D. There was a store called TGNY. And TGNY, I had seen that classic cover for Sleepaway Camp with the bloody tennis shoe with the knot, or the bloody knife going through the tennis shoe, and you flip it over and it's like a kid's writing a note from camp to their parents, and then all of a sudden something must happen to the kid because the writing just basically trails off and stops. But I probably didn't have any money at that time, because I was quite young. But for whatever reason, I didn't end up getting it. But back when Dad was like bringing home those stacks of movies from Quick Pick, um, I think he brought home Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3, and I remember him uh, talking about uh, getting these movies because the chick who was not in the movie had like a Jason hockey mask and a Freddy glove and all that, and he knew I liked both the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Street films, and so he thought I would enjoy the Sleepaway Camp movies because of the visual art on these. VHS tapes. And so he got them, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I can see how some things might seem sort of hokey now, but back then it was great. You know, the chick in part two getting her head in the toilet, and the leeches being on her. I just had to wonder though. You know, that wasn't until much later when I rewatched it, but it's like, how in the hell do leeches get in an outside toilet? But, you know, better not to ask any questions because, you know, horror films might be known for a lot of things, but they're not known for their logic. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe leeches can really get into outside toilets. But anyway, the chick basically ends up being drowned in shit and leeches and piss probably, and yeah, all that good stuff. But you know, back then I thought that stuff was just great, and I think that was where I got to watch the original Prom Night for the first time. Was that selection of movies from Quick Pick. There were also other local, like mom and pop video stores that I used to go to around my hometown. That was where I first saw John Carpenter's Halloween from '78. And although I was never able to rent it, I remember having a sleepover at one of my friends' houses whenever we were in grade school. And her parents took all us girls, to the video store to pick out some movies. And of course, I gravitated right to the horror movies, even at that young age, and wanted to rent Slumber Party Massacre. I remember the artwork just like it happened yesterday. And I remember my friend Shanda's mom saying, well, honey, maybe we shouldn't get this one. I think they let us get one of the Jaws movies. That was about the scariest thing we were allowed to get at that time. The same thing happened when I would go with my cousin Heather, and my Aunt Pam would take us to a video store to rent some movies. And I would, like I said, naturally gravitate towards those horror ones. And my Aunt Pam would be like, we don't watch those at our house, Dana. Of course, when me and Heather both got much older, I introduced her to things like Carrie and stuff like that, which at that point in time, Heather was scared by everything. You're talking about a girl, I love my dear cousin, but she was scared of E.T. When we were kids. And she's still scared of E.T. And that's a daggone family film. But she is scared of the alien E.T. She's scared of his glowing chest. She's scared of his glowing finger. She's scared that when in the movie when E.T. turns white and they think he's dead, she's scared of that. And yeah. But she can't even look at like a stuffed E.T. I have a little stuffed E.T. that I think is really cute, that came with one of my movie sets for E.T. And she came to visit, and I have it on, I think I have it in the shelf behind me. Of course, y'all can't see it because I got my green screen up. But when she came to visit me a few years back, I had to hide that before she came because she would have been terrified. But, you know, I'm not going to make fun of her. I mean, we all have certain things that bother us. And, you know, it does no good to try to explain to somebody why you have this fear of certain things, because they're never going to get it. I mean, I'm not going to get everything other people are scared of. They're not going to get everything that I'm scared of. So, you know, why should we why should we even go down that rabbit hole? So, Oh, my goodness. I've been having a little anxiety today, and I just thought maybe this sleepiness that I'm having might be due to me taking my anxiety pills, which I, I'm not trying to give out too much information here, but I'm kind of trying to explain why I'm tired all of a sudden. But the doctor has me on an anxiety medication called hydroxyzine. And I don't know how many of you are, familiar with that. But it's basically, I've been told it's like a prescription Benadryl. And I'm the type of person that allergy pills will put me out. So sometimes when I take this hydroxyzine, it doesn't do this. And other times it's like, oh, goodness. Yeah, actually, I might not last too long with this. But we can, if I do have to get off of here and rest, the good thing about that is I'll have some more video store memories to share with y'all at a later time. But Darren, you say I got a thing of floating kids at the window, creeps me out. Well, actually, so does Steve, and Salem's Lot was what did it to him. So I'm assuming Salem's Lot is what did that to you as well. Steve said he actually went for, I think, weeks after watching Salem's Lot, and he had to keep the cover up over his neck because he thought a vampire was going to come in there and suck his blood. So, anyway, um, guys, I am getting like super, super sleepy. So, I would imagine it's the anxiety medicine. So, what I'm going to do is, if y'all got any questions or comments, I'll stay on here for a few more minutes. But I don't want to get to the point where I'm completely zoning out on you guys and falling asleep. So, what I wanted to do was, kind of cut the discussion off on my end, um, and save whatever else I wanted to talk about for another time. But like I said, I'll stay on here a few more minutes if you guys want to ask some questions or comment on a few things that we've talked about tonight. I have been on here almost an hour and a half, and some of that was trying to work out the problems with my video camera and my webcam and my microphone. But it seems like once I got all that worked out, it seems like it was better. So, I guess lesson learned that I should not plug in my webcam to one of those hubs, because it evidently doesn't get enough power to it and it keeps freezing. So, does anybody have anything they want to bring up before I get off of here in a couple of minutes or so? I mean, I've enjoyed this conversation, and I look forward to doing another one of these. And I wish to goodness I could remember who brought that up about the video store memories, but I would like to thank you for bringing that up. Good night, Jay. Oh, you're very welcome. I have enjoyed this. I'm probably going to be, like, because I've already taken my shower and everything, I'm probably going to be laying down, having a little bit of a snack, and maybe trying to watch a little bit of something before I go out of it for the night. Texas, you say, first video store I went to was a mom and pop, but I rented basket case, blood feast, all sorts of goodness. Definitely, that sounds like one heck of a night you probably had, or a day. Texas. Like I said, basket case for me wasn't until much later. Well, thank you, Darren. I'm glad that you guys hung out with me for a little bit, and that Texas, you for one, you were one of the first people in here, if not the first person in here. And you were here when I was having my issues with the frozen video and the audio not working. And So I'm glad you stuck with it. Um, but I might just stay on here until an hour, 90 minutes in. So I got about 3 more minutes. So if anybody wants to bring up anything before I get off here, feel free to do that. Um, like I said, I hope to be able to do these on a more regular basis now. Uh, Honestly, sorry. I honestly was not, because when I first started this stream, I wasn't feeling sleepy, but like I said, the anxiety pills must have kicked in all of a sudden. Um, oh gosh, Curly Jaws and Polly Shore and the Sadness Part 2. That's kind of scary. That's maybe a scary image for me. Um, Anybody got any suggestions for a movie I could watch? Because I was thinking about trying to watch something, but that's another thing. We've got media overload now with all these streaming channels and all that. And so sometimes I have too much stuff, and so I don't really know what to pick. So if somebody wants to give me a suggestion, go ahead and throw that out for me. Got a couple more minutes here. And actually, I'm drinking an orange drink, but the thing about that is I just noticed it didn't have any caffeine in it. It's like I don't know, does Sunkist have caffeine in it? Maybe it does. But like A&W root beer, it doesn't have caffeine in it, so I tend to forget that not all my soft drinks have caffeine. Yeah, Darren, that's what I do too. There are too many choices. And when I'm tired like this and just want to lay down and just put something in and go into mindless mode, um, yeah, it just makes it that much more difficult. The new Kids in the Hall series on Prime is great. See, that's the thing though about Kids in the Hall. I can't say whether I was a fan of it or not because I never watched. I don't think I ever watched an episode of the original Kids in the Hall. So I don't really know if I could appreciate the new one or not. But it is a little over 1 hour and 30 minutes into this stream. So I am going to call it a night. I want to thank y'all again for hanging out with me. I hope to be back with maybe another one of these video store memory type of deals. Or I may go out on a limb and pick something different. I hope I don't. I hope the next time I do one of these, I don't seem so distracted. Like I told you guys that were in here a little earlier, Steve's kind of perturbed with me over. He feels like I wasted his weekend because yesterday I had him take me around to do errands, and then I wanted to eat some German food, and today I got a wild hair about. Well, actually, yesterday evening I got a wild hair about wanting to get a 75-gallon aquarium and stand for my bearded dragon. So he had to take more time out of his day today, and so I'm just going to have to not bother him at all tomorrow to allow him to have time to rest and all that. But, well, thank you, Texas, for being here. And you were, like I said, I think you were the first one in here tonight. So I'm going to skedaddle on out of here and say good night for tonight. And I hope to be back with something again soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.